Hey there, Heather. Ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Davitt. Welcome you to another Degrassiism poll. I know I haven't done much Degrassi content the past few months. Truth of the matter is, I've kind of not really had much in the way of content to be created. So anyway, today's unpopular opinion, Degrassiism poll is based on the fact that there was this one person who I who did this post. Capital Study 6436 says that, well, did a post about the most disappointing plot endings in Degrassi history, and there were many that were written. There were 17 of them that I could relate to. And then I decided, why not I do a top 10? Because I don't think I've done a topic on most disappointing plot endings in Degrassi history. So I added one of my own and did 3 polls of 6. And the top 3 from each of the 3 polls got into the top 10. And then the 4th place people would be in one poll and all that. The voting results will be, of course, at the end of the video. But anyway, so I decided to do the top 10 and all that. So it is impressive, don't you think? So yeah, here are the 10 most disappointing plot endings in Degrassi history. And I'll try to make sense of why it's disappointing. Anyway, first off is number 10 on the list. Who won the 10 poll, the 3 of them that got in. Honorable mentions go to Anya's endgame in season 12, the ending going to the military and all of that. And Tristan's coma from next class, that it didn't make it. But anyway, number 10 was Emma's issues with college and how it was disappointing. So Emma's college plotline, season 8, she goes off to college. She finds out that she's not roomed with Manny, even though that she said that she was going to be paired up with Manny, but she ends up being with someone else. So as Manny and Liberty are paired up. So Emma decides to go to the housing thing and get it arranged that Manny and, unfortunately, Liberty, in a sense, room with her. Manny and Liberty are, of course, not happy with that, but Emma said she just wanted to be with Manny because that's what the rules were around all that. And instead of the college making the changes, Emma made the changes herself. Of course, everyone was worried about Emma's mental health, making friends and all that. And it was also the problem with her making pot brownies, trying to fit in with the people like Kelly's friends and all that, trying to make sure she was not bland and vanilla. And it caused one girl to get so high she forgets to take her medication, has a seizure, and the school overreacts in a sense. It becomes worse when Holiday Road popped in season 9, and Emma and Kelly's relationship cracks. Kelly decides to go back to the Yukon to work for his dad, and Emma is upset because not only has she lost Kelly, she actually lost Manny and Liberty. She lost, as she said to Spike and Snake, Manny's gone to Hollywood, Liberty's gone to pre-law, she's all by herself. And with Kelly gone, basically, I think that meant that Emma was all by herself in the dorm and all that. I don't know what they would have done. They probably would have shifted Emma somewhere else. But anyway, Emma admits to Spike and Snake that she's been chasing friends instead of grades. That she, after Manny and Liberty left her, she probably felt abandoned and all that. A lot of it was disappointing how Emma would falter. Her character would be just clingy towards friends and a boyfriend for that matter. And then she ends up marrying Spinner randomly. So that's what ended up happening. All right, so we got the 7 to 9 poll. So the next 3, there was one poll with 72 total votes. Number 9 on the list, number 9 with 15 votes, is Summer Girls, aka Maya's kidnapping angle from season 14. We all know that Degrassi wanted to end with the summer movie and have the people do summer stuff. Like Frankie becomes an intern for her dad at City Hall and meets this guy, and this guy says that his friend is kidnapped and needs money and tries to extort money from Frankie and all that. Maya tries to become a lifeguard, fails miserably, and then gets a break when one girl, Gloria, was supposed to be a nanny for a music producer's two kids, and Gloria was kidnapped. So Maya took over Gloria's spot, and then Maya had her own problems. Sig convinced her that the producer needs to spend more time with her kids and all that. Maya tries to explain everything to the producer, but fails and gets fired, and then basically gets kidnapped out of freaking nowhere. Zoe and Winston go to summer school and all that. And Zoe tries her best to try to fix the situation, but then they get swept up in this whole kidnapping thing and use math to figure out where Maya was, which was weird because why didn't they just call Maya's parents or try to contact Maya on cell phone or do some GPS stuff? Maya thankfully gets saved, and it was found out that the boy who was crying wolf with Frankie actually was working with Gloria. It was a kidnapping plot to get money from the Hollingsworths, probably because the Hollingsworths were dicks. But anyway, Frankie almost gives them money, but fortunately does not get to. And the two people get arrested, and Maya is set free. Of course, it was disappointing for the fact that, well, it was supposed to end Degrassi, and then it turned into Degrassi Next Class, and they didn't mention anything about Maya's kidnapping or Zoe going to summer school or Frankie's extortion thing. They just let it go, saying that it just means nothing. It could have explained a few characteristic moves in Next Class for these characters. Number 8 with 19 votes was Fiona Imogen season 11. Now, I didn't watch Degrassi that much during that era, so I don't know too much offhand about things. But the fact is that Fiona was abused by Bobby and all that. And Fiona almost ruins her case by being drunk and all that and ruining herself. She goes to rehab and all that after Bobby gets arrested for his stuff and tries to fix things up. Fiona has the weird thing about clinginess. She kisses Declan, her twin, trying to keep him away from Holly J. And then Fiona has feelings for Holly J and can't really say them. Although Anya did tell Holly J these feelings, I think Anya was trying to help Fiona out, but in a sense may have hindered it. And Fiona did manage to get $2,000 to give Holly J so that Holly J can Fiona buys Holly J's birth mother's dress so that she can get the $2,000 needed to give to the birth mother for the kidney, which, is illegal to ask for money for a kidney, even though the mother said, I need it because I'm going to have to recover for a year. It's fine. Holly J wasn't mad about the money. It was just the extortion thing. But yeah, Fiona found love with Imogen, who was trying to find her own sexual identity. And, they hit it off quite well. And a lot of people were shocked that they broke up. It was just unbelievable. And number 7, who won the 7-9 poll with 38 votes, was Liberty's pregnancy in season 5. So there were hints of Liberty being pregnant in season 4 when they did the Kevin Smith episodes. And yes, that is going to be one of the top 6. What ends up happening is that Liberty's craving pickles and Ashley looks at her funny. But in a few episodes into season 5, Liberty tells JT while he drives the car that she's pregnant and JT crashes the car. JT doesn't know what to do about the situation, and his job at the TV station isn't working too well. So Liberty and JT try to talk to JT's grandmother about things, but JT's grandmother doesn't want to take care of the baby like she's taking care of JT. And JT says, I'm not going to run out on my family like my dad did on me. So practically, all that. Liberty tries to keep it a secret from her family that she's pregnant. She's trying to keep it like a secret and all that. And then it finally comes out, in a sense, when JT gets a pharmaceutical job being an assistant and then is conned by Jay, of all people, to sell OxyContin because people will sell their own mothers to get some of that. So JT steals stuff. He gets in trouble with the drug pimp, and Liberty tells him to stop this whole thing. So JT tries to get out of it. He can't do anything about it. He's about to go to jail probably, so he decides to overdose. Jay fortunately decides to save JT's life, and Liberty is upset that JT would want to kill himself. I mean, I get it. So it ends up being that Liberty decides to give up the baby because she kind of figures that JT isn't really much of a father. So Liberty does give birth and and puts the baby up for adoption because she just can't take care of the kid. That's fine. Put it up for adoption. Fair enough. But then she gets upset over the adoption thing that the people want to change the boy's name and move to Seattle. Liberty is told by her dad, you signed the papers. You have no say in everything. And Liberty struggles with postpartum, and her parents are no help, not willing to help her out, even though that Liberty's showing signs of weakness. They basically just tell her to suck it up, Buttercup, and Liberty is just upset. Fortunately, though, the baby goes with a memory chest at the request of Derek. I think, was Derek and... No, Derek, Danny, and Perino were a storyline that did not make the top 10. But anyway, this was when Derek was bearable, not a dick, as he would later become. So, yeah, Liberty may have got some closure, but the fact that her pregnancy actually was not talked about that much and it was only through the eyes of JT. Like, we didn't see a POV from Liberty. We didn't see Emma or Manny or anyone else talk to her about her pregnancy and all that. They just basically left her high and dry. And, Liberty's birth was a B plot, too. When she gave birth to the baby, it was a B plot. So if that's not disappointing, I don't know what the hell it is. Anyway, so next up is the poll from 4 to 6 with 83 total votes. So at number 6 is Grace and Zoe from Next Class. Now, they both were struggling with stuff. Grace was dealing with cystic fibrosis and needing new lungs to fix the problem and all that, but it seemingly she couldn't get her lungs and all that. And Zoe was having an identity crisis. In season 13, she was in a feud with Maya over Miles, and then she was raped by Luke Madeline and his associate Neil. And at the trial, she doesn't bat an eye, and she gets her justice as Neil and Luke have to serve 2 years in juvie. And the fact that Becky basically told on her brother and all that while maintaining her Christianity views and basically having the support of her parents and probably her dad losing the job as minister because of all that shit. So anyway, Zoe then becomes this bitch in season 14 with the cheerleading, with the Degrassis nudes situation, pushing people to post provocative photos of themselves for money, for equipment and all that, not giving up and all that. And a lot of people did say that Zoe did it to try to get her body back after being deflowered, I guess, in season 13, if that's the proper verb, which I don't think it is. But the fact of the matter is that, Zoe was struggling with her sexuality. Sure, she had attractions to Miles and all that, but she really thought that Grace was cute and all that. And so Zoe moves in with Grace after Zoe's mom kicks her out for being a lesbian. Zoe tries her best to convince her mom, all that. Well, Zoe goes after Grace, but Grace says she's straight. She's hetero, so Zoe's upset. And of course, Zoe, for trying to put Rasha on her family, gets kicked out and then moves in with Grace. Because Grace was willing to let her come by. And it was happy times for Zoe. A lot of people were disappointed that, it's a Zoe-Grace dynamic. And speaking of Grace, she made the Degrassi nude stuff, but yet she got no punishment. I guess because they didn't want to finger Grace, especially Zoe. Number 5 on the list with 29 votes was Joey Caitlin season 4. So I spoke partially about this whole thing with Liberty's pregnancy, but yeah, number 5 is Joey Caitlin season 4. Joey Caitlin were the ultimate Will they be a couple during Degrassi Junior High and High. They were good towards each other. Joey may have done some bad things to Caitlin, and Caitlin may have done some bad things with Joey, but that was a good relationship. Joey was at his prime of the relationship, helping Caitlin deal with Chloe Tanner's suicide in Degrassi High. Chloe was this guy who basically liked Caitlin, but left Caitlin high and dry during an animal testing thing, and Caitlin got in trouble with the law, and Chloe refused to help Caitlin out in a sense. And Caitlin hated him for it. Chloe decides to kill himself in the boys' bathroom. Snake has to see the body, yuck, and tell Radich, who was VP at the time. And the fact about Chloe's problems. And Joey tells Caitlin that, you shouldn't be kicking yourself. Claude was messed up. He wanted you to feel bad. Claude killed himself to get at you. And Joey was right. Claude and sent the roses and the note to get onto Caitlin's skin. And Joey helped Caitlin realize that she wasn't to blame and that Claude was just being a dick. Unfortunately, Joey messed things up in Schools Out while Caitlin had to work more hours and all that for stuff. Caitlin and Joey couldn't meet up, but Joey bumped into Tessa Campanelli, who said her boyfriend was bad to her. So Joey and Tessa hook up, but Caitlin still wants to be with Joey. So Joey ends up seeing both girls and all that, and keeps it on that DL or down low, even though he gets Tessa pregnant and she has to have an abortion. So of course Joey and Caitlin are not a couple anymore because Snake reveals the secret about Joey cheating on Caitlin with Tessa, and they do meet at Simon and Alexa's wedding, but they just dance together as friends. The weird thing was the first few seasons of Degrassi Next Gen had Caitlin maybe pining for Joey and maybe making Caitlin have a character assassination. But Joey was widowed. I mean, his wife died of an undetermined illness. He has to take care of Angie, his daughter, and deal with Craig, who is his stepson in a sense, because Craig's mom was the one who married Joey after leaving Craig's dad, and Craig's dad using Craig as a punching bag for his emotions. So it was weird seeing Caitlin be a ditz and all that. But yeah, Joey and Caitlin having the will they, won't they relationship throughout Next Gen. And it comes to a head in the Kevin Smith episodes. Massive hot take is that, Kevin Smith with the movie at Degrassi was a PR stunt. I thought Hatzel Eccles would have known not to do a PR stunt because Radich tried a PR stunt to cancel Dracula for a Sunny musical to make Degrassi seem good in everyone's eyes. I mean, I understand Radich's motive because Degrassi was painted in a negative light and he was trying to fix the situation, but he just alienated his students in a sense. So unfortunately, that was a blown opportunity. And then, so yeah, the Kevin Smith stuff, and then Caitlin grows close to Kevin Smith, who had a crush on Stacey Mititian while she was on Degrassi Junior High and High as Caitlin. So basically, the fanfic comes to life. Joey is upset by Caitlin choosing Kevin Smith over him, and he moves to Calgary. So that was just disappointing and all that. And number 4 on the list, with 37 votes in the 4-6 poll, was Spinner and Jason's relationship from season 9. I talked about Emma's problems in season 9. What about Spinner? Now, Spinner with relationships was huge. I mean, Spinner was with Paige, and then that relationship cracked in season 4 when Spinner had eyes for Manny. With Paige not being around Spinner as much, Spinner thought that he needed to be with Manny. But Paige was working a movie job that she didn't like, only to, pay off Spinner's car. Well, Spinner has to repair his car after Paige purposely crashes it into Dean's car to get revenge for Dean getting off scot-free with his rape of Paige. So anyway, Spinner is with Manny, and then they break off because of Spinner's involvement in the Rick Murray situation. Spinner asked for it. Let's not forget that. But the fact is that Spinner enters another relationship with Darcy in season 5 because Darcy's a member of the Friendship Club, and Spinner wants to atone for his mistakes and tells Darcy he feels bad because, he got Jimmy shot. Darcy talks to him, though, and makes Spinner a better person, but then they break up inexplicably, and then Spinner goes towards Jane. The one thing about the Spinner-Jane relationship that I found disappointing, and it's not the disappointing ending, is the fact that when Jane got harassed in season 8 by her fellow teammates while making the Degrassi football team, where was Spinner to basically put fear into these people's eyes, these boys' lives, and all that? Because Spinner would have been a pretty good person to help Jane out and make himself a good character growth. That's just what I think. But the fact of the matter about Spinner and Jane was that, Jane decided to cheat on Spinner with Declan while she was in New York during the Degrassi Takes Manhattan special in season 9, and Spinner is depressed that Jane would leave him for Declan. And then, worst of all, the dot was burned under Emma's supervision because she used a terrible sandwich grill and all that. But the fact of the matter for Emma is that she tried to be better and all that. But yet, Spinner is coerced by Jay and Emma to go to Niagara Falls to cheer her spirits up. And then Spinner and Emma end up hooking up and getting married, and then they decide to stay married. Although Jane was trying to break up Spinner's marriage ceremony to Emma. Well, but Manny breaks that up by pummeling Jane. So that's that. Now we go to the top 3. 114 total votes. And practically, there were a lot of talks. First place was actually what I thought was first place. Second place was not what I thought. I thought that was going to be third place. So anyway, third place with 32 of the 114 votes was Palex, aka Paige and Alex. Now, speaking of relationships, like I talked about Spinner and Paige, Paige having the troubles with her relationship, especially with Dean, who raped her and got away with it because of lack of evidence. Spinner and Paige were together dealing with the Rick situation, which I will talk about later on in this countdown. But the fact of the matter was that Paige moved on from Spinner and went with Mr. Orlander, who was a student teacher, as it turned out. It was a wrong move and all that. What icks me about that is that, Olander making advances to Paige and telling the school board that Paige was inappropriate towards him when he knows damn well it was the opposite direction. The one thing that ticks me off is Paige trying to protect Olander by wanting to transfer out of school and transfer her credits out of the way to get rid of it. And then the lawyer says, feelings for your teacher, or we can help you with that. And Snake was appalled by Paige's saying, so was Hatzalakos. They were trying to help Paige out, make Olander the bad guy. Olander thankfully decided, screw it, I'm going to tell on myself. And basically, he said that I was the one who was inappropriate, not Paige. And practically, he gets fired. Paige and Olander were supposed to go back being a couple once Olander returned from the Yukon, but he broke up with Paige, and Paige felt terrible. And then somehow she gravitated towards Alex, hiding her own homosexual tendencies, or gay tendencies, I guess you can call it. Because we always thought Paige was straight. We always thought that Paige was okay. We knew that Paige had a gay brother, Dylan, but I didn't think that Paige would turn to girls. You could kind of say that Paige could not trust men after season 4 and all that and turned to girls for solace. Maybe, maybe not. But, Olander broke her heart. Spinner broke her heart. Rick was a monster. And, men just had it. And then she was with Alex. The only problem with Palex was it was kind of a classism thing. Paige looked down on Alex a lot, despite the fact that she helped Alex out of her stripping and storyline and all that. But Paige just seemed to have the air of superiority over Alex. And, that relationship fizzled, and Paige would go towards Griffin. And then Griffin, who was HIV positive, actually had sex with Paige. But Paige, I don't think, had the condition because she would have shown signs of it later on. Paige is bisexual, which is fine. All that, best of both worlds. Number 2 with 39 votes, missing out on number 1, was Terry not coming back in season 4 at all. So the whole thing with Terry is she was a plus-size girl that had confidence issues and all that until Rick was seen leaving roses at her locker in season 3, and she thought she found love. Unfortunately, Rick became abusive emotionally and physically, even shoving her against a wall. That was not the incident that triggered the whole hate on Rick in season 4, because, yeah, Terry and Rick were broken up, but Terry gave Rick another chance after a trust exercise. And Jimmy, Spinner, Paige, and Hazel, who were going on a road trip together, and invited Terry. Well, Terry invited Rick around, said they would take good care of Terry. Unfortunately, though, Rick gets pissed off by Paige and then runs off into the woods. Terry tries to track him down, and Rick is upset that Paige, Terry is choosing Paige over him. Now, in a sense, Rick has a point, because it seems that Paige does not want Terry to disappear from underneath her shadow and all that. But unfortunately, Rick pushes Terry down. She hits her head on a rock, and Terry's unconscious. Rick has blood on his hands. He runs off. Paige and Spinner find Terry, thankfully, and call the ambulance and all that. So, of course, Rick hides out, in a sense, while Paige and Spinner have to deal with Terry's situation to Terry's dad, who gets mad at them but then recants later on. The fact of the matter was that Terry was in a coma. She was seen in a few episodes after Don't Dream It's Over, the episode that put her in the coma. And then season 4, she's nowhere to be seen. It's like, is she recovering from her coma elsewhere? Well, we don't know what happened to Terry and all that. When you watch not Back in Black, Mercy Street in season 4, Rick comes back. We find out that Rick was actually pulled out of school by his parents, probably crying crocodile tears. And the fact that Terry's not back at Degrassi for the whole situation with Rick made things very disappointing and all that. It was a well thought of plot line. I mean, it's got to be the best Degrassi plot line ever. And of course, I think that was like the most recognizable plot line would be the Rick Murray storyline. But the fact of Terry not being there made things worse and all that. Like, they didn't mention where Terry went. The only mention of Terry, where Terry ended up, was at a private school. But the problem was, that was a deleted scene in which Radish, after talking to Marco and Alex, who were the student council president and vice president, respectively, wanted to know why Rick is back at the school. And then he says, Terry's at a private school. I can't talk about her affairs. Of course, Radish is trying to tell them in his own language that no criminal charges, someone can study my school, like it or not. Like, the way he's saying it to Marco and Alex is that you just had no choices. But they take it as Raj is probably hiding behind bureaucracy and bullshit. But of course, with Terry out of the way, I don't think Terry would have known about the fact that the students decided to take a Orange Ribbon campaign that Emma sheepishly set up as a way to bully Rick and make Rick so vile that, his tendencies would come out. Rick, for the most part, avoids his bad tendencies until he spray paints Jay and Spinner's cars for basically putting him in a dumpster. Well, Jimmy, sorry, too. But the fact of the matter was that, Terry was not there. And how would she react to Rick being bullied and all that? She probably would have put a stop to it. And then everyone would have stopped because Terry, the person they're doing it for, had said stop. Some would question her, but a lot of people would be like, okay, Terry, okay, that's fine. We'll stop. A CTV executive is kind of to blame for it because they just didn't think they could build Terry's character better. A lot of people was like, yeah, right, bullshit. Oh yeah, Compose the Silence made a comment saying, Peter, no, she thought that Palex was the most disappointing. Terry not coming back was disappointing, but it was the actress's choice. Plus, Rick coming back would not have worked if she had been there. Palex's ending was such a disappointment. So Cal said, Terry not coming back. This was a missed opportunity for more depth in season 4. I think it could have propelled her to the forefront. So yeah, that was the problem with Terry not coming back. But number one, just by an inch, if you will, by 4 votes, I have 43 votes out of 114, was Peter not being punished for exposing Manny in season 5. So here's what happens. And this is actually kind of a bridge into a talking point I want to make, and I will probably make in the days ahead. But the fact of the matter is that in season 5, Emma likes this boy named Peter and says that was the first boy she's ever liked after Hurricane Sean blew through her emotional trailer park. Which, if you read it correctly, is that, she was upset that Sean left her high and dry. I mean, Sean saved Emma from Rick's gun, killed Rick, inadvertently, of course. And Emma felt like she owed Sean because, Sean was willing to do that to a guy to save Emma's life. If Toby had done it, I think she would have went after Toby. It would have made things weird, but it would have given Toby some good storylines. Toby was really mistreated. So the simple fact is that, Emma didn't pine after a boy and all that. Yeah, sure, she was with Jay in the ravine and got gonorrhea from him, but I think it was just to trying to get her to feel better about it after feeling partially responsible for Rick's downfall. So anyway, so she likes Peter. The only problem is Peter is not really interested in Emma. He's only interested in Manny. So Emma, Manny, and Peter go to a party and all that, and Peter and Manny sneak off. Peter gets Manny drunk, and then Manny flashes him, saying, "I'm going to be famous." And Peter records it playfully. Of course, Peter uses that video as blackmail and as I can't remember how. Like as insurance, he wants to be with Manny. Manny tries her best to make sure Peter goes with Emma because Emma likes Peter, but Peter doesn't really budge. And then after the video, Peter says he wants a $3,000 camera, and Manny tries to get the $3,000 for him, but fails miserably and decides, why not? I'll just go out with Peter. Nope. Peter says, I'm going to distribute this everywhere. And everyone makes slut shames Manny. Emma does too, but Emma gets mad at Manny for the fact that Manny's trying to steal Peter because Emma realizes the background and all that. That's Peter's house. What are you doing? You're trying to steal my man. Emma, that's not how it goes. And then, Emma jumps the gun as per usual. Manny gets kicked out of her house for wanting to be an actress and all of that and not playing by her dad's rules. Emma takes her in after feeling sorry for her and then realizing Peter was scum and all that. And how Peter was admonished by Miss Hatzalakos, who called him her son. Emma and Manny looked at each other like, did you know Peter was Hatzalakos' son? No, I had no clue. Who's the father? Satan. So anyway, Emma and Manny seem to have a perfect dynamic together. Peter gets many detentions, but he doesn't get expelled or suspended for that matter because of it. And it's like shocking how Peter escaped serious punishment. I thought that it was just basically a one and done. He was in for a few episodes and then, he gets punished and then he's vanished. And it brings an Emma Manny dynamic for season 5. But oh no, Peter's still around. And worst of all was Emma pining for Peter. Emma said that she would help Manny out by revenge porn on Peter, which actually would have worked out. But Emma was seduced by Peter's shirtless pics and then realizes this guy's for her. Someone actually said that there was a potential that Emma wasn't going to revenge porn Peter, that she was going to do that for Manny, but secretly wanted to go to see him and not have Manny deal with Peter because, Emma's keeping the secret that she's with Peter. But of course, that relationship gets out in the open during Emma's eating disorder, and Emma has to admit it. And then, Peter wants to help Emma out. Emma is upset with Manny blabbing the secrets, so she decides to throw Manny out and then has a stress-induced panic attack. And then she goes to the hospital and is diagnosed with eating disorder and given time to recover. So that's what happens. Yeah. I mean, Emma being with Peter in the first place was pathetic, but Peter not getting punished for what he did to Manny. And let's not forget, let's also say another disappointing thing is he was not punished for what he did to Sean. Like basically framing Sean with drugs in Sean's locker so that, he could steal Emma, realizing that Emma might have feelings for Sean because of their history together, as Manny said. And I even said, was it possible that Manny was trying to break up Pema? I think they were trying to break up Pema because of the internet hate back in the day. But the fact of the matter was that, Emma stayed with Peter. And then once Peter was exposed for putting a mask in Emma's locker and then realizing Peter put the drugs in Sean's locker, Emma breaks up with Peter. Peter probably cries crocodile tears and avoids punishment. Well, not for the street racing thing. The street race, he got massively in trouble, rightfully so, but it felt like he was not punished for, making Sean look like an idiot. So practically, Peter got away with a lot, and Emma was stupid for staying with him. But of course, there'd be a modus operandi, and I'll talk about that in my next Degrassi video in the days ahead. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.